as you're all aware at this point, Arthas finally shows up in Shadowlands in 9.2. However, his exact role is not completely defined at this point. You probably already know about the remnant of the Fallen King in the Anduin encounter in the Sepulchre of the First Ones, but now we have data mined the actual voice lines within the fight with references to Uther, Sylvanas, us as players, as we know a lot more about the actual story progression. So what is all this new information? If you ever wanted to record your raids, arenas, Mythic Plus, check out Squad OV. The app records itself without a click of a button. You can see complete encounter stats, spell visualizations, analyze performance, and you can also watch your friend's perspective. Best of all, you can do it from anywhere just from the web app. Use the link in the description to check out the sponsor Squad OV completely free. As you're already aware, Anduin was turned by the jailer into his most trusted agent. This happened pretty much at the start of the Shadowlands, but since Sylvanas had abandoned the jailer and didn't want to serve, Anduin became the main guy. Now, the only difference was that Sylvanas was sort of serving willingly, even though they say she wasn't, while Anduin is pretty much just a dominated, completely mindless servant. Well, as you have also seen, Anduin is one of the main bosses of the Sepulchre of the First Ones, and we finally learned what it was that dominated him, what is going on, and what happens at the end. I'm going to spoil it to you immediately, as this is already old news, but Anduin was freed. Yes, this entire storyline ended up with him being a bit dizzy and weak, but he is one of the main characters of our campaign questline, and he's constantly present, so he's definitely free. The model also looks pretty basic as it looked before. It still isn't certain at the moment whether that is just a placeholder or whether a new model will be introduced. We also don't know the full extent of his corruption and the effects it left on his mind, but from the many data mined dialogues, it really seems like he's just weak and confused. It doesn't seem like he is undead, broken, or anything of the sort. Well, to get to the point, we learned that the source of his domination is that crystal that the jailer placed in his father's sword Charlemagne, which turned into King's Morn. Almost certainly, this soul was Arthas. How we know this is because in the fight, we manifest this source of domination and we fight the remnant of the Fallen King. This remnant also has the same abilities as the Lich King. Well, here is the new stuff we just learned a few days ago. This is without a doubt Arthas, this remnant of the Fallen King, and we have two pieces of information that reveal this. First, during the battle, this remnant literally has the same model as the Lich King from the Icecrown Citadel, like literally this is the Lich King. If that is not confirmation, then I don't know what is. However, the other bit is that the remnant actually talks and interacts both with us, Uther, and Sylvanas, and there are a bunch of new data mined voice lines. So, to start off, it seems like before the fight, Sylvanas starts to help us, and then everyone is against her, saying, yeah, you're the one to help, you pretty much did this to Anduin, you did this personally. Then they eventually settled that she was the one that held a sword and corrupted him, so she must know the way of how to get rid of his domination. Of course, we don't have the full context yet, but it does seem like this crazy inside info that Sylvanas has is essentially just being moral support to Anduin. Here is what actually happens. During the battle, we help Anduin recover his willpower, and when he gets strong enough, the Fallen King is summoned and he talks with Sylvanas. Sylvanas says the genius line, break his hold, Anduin, the strength lies within you. Arthas then responds, what do you know of strength, betrayer? You lack the strength to protect your people as you fell before Frostmourne.
You are weak, Windrunner, and the weak are made to serve.
This is an interesting line, as he's obviously taunting Sylvanas, but it is also kind of hilarious that Sylvanas' major role that she's going to do is just give Anduin a motivational speech. I don't know, I expected that she knew some sort of a spell or some button that she can push to help us get rid of this. It is still of course possible, as something could happen between this line and the start of the battle when the remnant of the Fallen King says this. Well, that aside, let's get into more voice lines. Arthas also interacts with Uther, and we get this conversation. Uther says as Anduin struggles against the remnant, don't give up, Anduin, we will not fail you. Then Arthas responds, your existence was one failure after another, old man. At Enderhold, you failed your kingdom and your prince.
Today, you fail not only the boy king, but your entire world.
On top of all of this, there were also some lines where the Remnant of the Fallen King says, "Darkness will consume light, and Kingsborn hungers." The Kingsborn hungers especially sounds like Arthas saying this. However, what is interesting to note is that this voice is actually incredibly strange, and also the context of these lines is kind of weird. We still don't know for a fact what exactly this Remnant of the Fallen King is. It is all but certain that it is Arthas, but is it really just Arthas? Could it be Arthas and Varian combined, or just a remnant of Arthas' soul, or something like that? Why I don't think it is not just simply Arthas inside Anduin is because both the voice and the actual context of these lines, he kinda speaks in a third person, and it isn't talking directly to Uther or Sylvanas. He says at the end of Hall, "You failed your prince." He doesn't say, "You failed me personally, Uther." He also tells Sylvanas, "You fell before Frostmourne." He doesn't say, "You fell under my blade," or something of the sort. This kind of gives us a strange vibe, as if it is the jailer talking and Arthas isn't actually sentient there. Possibly Arthas' soul is just used to power up the corruption, but his mind isn't really there. What is also interesting to note is the voice. You can hear a small part here.
Your reality ends here.
As you can tell, it doesn't exactly sound like Arthas' voice. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I can also kinda hear Varian here as well. It 100% doesn't sound like Arthas just himself, so it could be purposefully a mixed voice. Maybe Varian's soul as well as Arthas were combined into this remnant, and that is why the voice is so strange. Additionally, it could also just be Arthas, but as it is going through Anduin, their voices may be connected, giving this different sound. I know Blizzard is all about keeping loose ends and starting storylines but never finishing them, but Varian must be involved in this storyline, at least to some even small extent. This is still completely mysterious, as we know for a fact now that Varian died before the Arbiter broke, but he was killed by the Legion and Fel Magic, and we know that Dreadlords were present, so they could have ferried his soul directly to the Maw, just like they did with Argus. I mean, we obviously had that compass he used in the Legion cinematic on 2 different occasions. One was Anduin's goodbye and the other at the end of Sanctum of Domination. Why would they use this compass? My thoughts are that they're definitely hinting somewhat at Varian. It is also possible that they may be using his father's sacrifice as a memory, but I think the compass must be involved with Varian directly. This might mean that the Remnant of the Fallen King could literally be like an amalgamation of both Arthas and Varian, and the voice is kinda mixed. As this Remnant is talking in third person and not directly, it could be their 2 souls combined, serving as an engine to power Anduin's corruption, and it is the jailer that is taunting Uther and Sylvanas. Obviously, to actually learn this, we'll have to wait for 9.2 to be released. At the moment, we're kinda stuck in terms of information. We know Arthas is present here, we know Sylvanas helped in some way, and we know Anduin was freed in the end, but a bunch of things must have happened in between that would no doubt explain both the role of Arthas and Varian in the Shadowlands. Thank you for watching. Check out the Dragon Isles as a potential expansion by clicking on the screen, and check out Honors Academy for videos on real-world history. See you next time.